Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening. RBI Monetary Policy Committee springs a surprise by front-loading rate cuts to boost growth. Repo rate cut by 50 basis points, CRR cut by 100 basis points. RBI Governor says no more room left for easing and the stance changes from accommodative to neutral.
Inflation पे अब काफ़ी जो है नियंत्रण में है और वो जंग जो है हम ये मान सकते हैं कि उसके ऊपर में हमने जीत हासिल कर ली.
Governor Malhotra says it is safe to assume that RBI has won the war against inflation. RBI also leaves FY26 growth forecast unchanged at 6.5%, says there is room for improvement. Gold financiers cheer as RBI set to ease gold loan rules, also proposes to do away with credit appraisal for small ticket loans up to 2.5 lakh rupees after a nudge from the government. An official notification is expected soon. RBI's growth bazooka lifts the Lal Street. Sensex gains over 1%. Nifty reclaims 25,000. Bank and real estate stocks rally. US President Trump and billionaire Elon Musk trade insults as their relationship implodes in full public view. Trump threatens to cancel federal contracts and tax subsidies. Musk calls for Trump's impeachment and mocks his connections with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Government allows Starlink to provide satellite internet services in India. The Elon Musk-backed company is the third after Bharti's OneWeb and Reliance's Jio to secure a SATCOM license. The telecom department is yet to approve regulators' recommendations on allocating spectrum to SATCOM companies. The competition watchdog is likely to order a probe against Asian Paints based on a complaint filed by Birla Opus. Sources tell us the Aditya Birla Group company has alleged abuse of dominant market position by Asian Paints. Government considering a performance-linked incentive-style framework to boost local production of rare earth magnets to cushion the impact of Chinese curbs. Talks, however, are only at an early stage. A sign of thaw in the strained relationship between India and Canada. Prime Minister Modi accepts an invitation to attend the G7 summit after a phone call from Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. PM Modi says both nations will work together with renewed vigor. Russian missiles rain down on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, killing 4 people. This comes after Russia's President Putin promised to retaliate after Ukraine destroyed dozens of Russian fighter jets. Israel bombs Lebanon's capital, Beirut, despite a ceasefire agreement with the Hezbollah. No food distribution in Gaza for the third straight day as the aid agency backed by the US and Israel remains shut. The United Nations warns that children in Gaza are suffering from acute malnutrition. Bengaluru police arrest one RCB official and an event management executive after 11 people died in a stampede during the IPL victory celebrations. 2 more people also taken into custody for their alleged involvement. Well, here's the top story this evening. The RBI Monetary Policy Committee has surprised the street with a bigger than expected repo rate cut of 50 basis points. The repo, which is the interest rate at which the RBI lends to banks, now stands at 5.5% after 3 consecutive cuts. 5 out of 6 members voted for the 50 basis point cut. It is not just the repo rate. The RBI has also decided to reduce the cash reserve ratio by 100 basis points in 4 equal tranches starting from September. Cash reserve ratio is the percentage of a bank's total deposits that must be held as reserves. Governor Sanjay Malhotra said that rate cuts have been front-loaded to give certainty to the markets. The policy stance has been changed, however, from accommodative to neutral, and the governor made it clear that there is no room for any further easing.
There is now very limited space for the monetary policy, actually, given the current circumstances. And you are aware of the current circumstances, which is that growth is at about 6.5%. Inflation, we are projecting at 3.7% for this year. And next year, it's above 4, it's 4.5%, or roundabout. So given these current if these were to play out, there is very limited space, is what MPC says, and that's why it has been reduced now. We have changed now to neutral.
Well, just as Governor Malhotra was mentioning there, the RBI has left the FY26 GDP growth forecast unchanged at 6.5%, while adding that there is room for improvement. The FY26 inflation forecast has been cut to 3.7% as against the earlier estimate of 4%. However, inflation is expected to inch higher towards 4.5% by the end of this financial year. Governor Malhotra said it is safe to assume that the RBI has won the war against inflation for now.
इन्फ्लेशन आपको मालूम है, मुद्रास्फीति इन्फ्लेशन पे अब काफ़ी जो है नियंत्रण में है, और वो जंग जो है हम ये मान सकते हैं कि उसके ऊपर में हमने जीत हासिल कर ली है। एक मैसेज है, क्योंकि हमने 4% से उसको घटा करके जो हमारा अनुमान था उसको 3.7% किया है मुद्रास्फीति को। उसी प्रकार से जो ग्रोथ है वो 6.5% है, अच्छी है, लेकिन उसमें और गुंजाइश है, उसके अंदर में और बढ़ोतरी होने का।
What can we say about the governor's performance today? It was more like one of those swashbuckling T20 batsmen, Sai Sudarshan or Virat Kohli, just coming out and hooking sixer on sixer, a double rate cut and 100 basis point cash reserve ratio cut. This is, I can't remember when we last had such an easy policy. Cutting by 100 basis was probably after the Lehman crisis or something. So this is a very big giveaway, gift for the markets and for the borrowers. But he immediately turns out to be a Rahul Dravid or someone, because he comes and says in the next sentence that I'm changing the stance from accommodative to neutral. What it basically means in plain English is that the chances of more rate cuts are not there. All he has done, he has advanced a possible August rate cut to June and given 2 cuts in June. But the only way to read this is that there are probably no more rate cuts. There are some people who are, focusing on possibility later on. But when we asked the governor, inflation is at 3.5%, he pointed out that next year it is 4.5%. So clearly, it didn't look like a governor who's, going to relent and give us any more rate cuts. So that's as far as the policy is concerned. Let's come to what happens to the banks. For the banks, a rate cut of 50 basis more than expected is actually negative. Why is it negative? Because many of the banks' loans are linked to the repo rate. So immediately, what they get from a home loan, what they get from a corporate loan will all fall. About 30% of the loans are linked to the repo rate, and so they're going to earn less in the coming quarter. And therefore, the margins will fall. Deposits take time to fall. But the CRR cut is very important. What is the CRR? If you have 100 rupees, you had to keep 4 rupees as cash. Now you have to keep only 3 rupees as cash. You can lend 1 more rupee and earn, 7-8% on that. For the banks, if you take the stock of money, they can lend 2.5 trillion rupees more in the system at 7 or 8%. Until now, it is only earning 0. So that means by the time you come to the second half of the year, banks are going to find the cost of their funds low, and it is what you call a money multiplier. Every new deposit, they're going to keep less money aside for CRR, and they're able to lend more. So what it is going to mean is that banks have better and better times. They will see a steep fall in margins in the first quarter, and then a U-turn in the margins by the time the year ends. They exit the year very well. That is if you are a bank shareholder. If you are in an NBFC or real estate a company or a shareholder or an auto company, or you're going to buy a car, for all these people, things are really good. Loans are going to get cheaper and cheaper as the year progresses. It's already falling by 0.5%. It's going to fall even more as the amount of money available with banks, goes higher. So there's a lot of cheer. The only caution I would leave on the table is, has the governor come out of the crease a bit too much and whacked the ball? You're exposing all your stumps. If something goes wrong, he has just put all the cards on the table. I would just worry a bit about that, especially because the tariff war goes ugly or monsoons don't live up to the early promise. Then, inflation can play a nasty trick on us. Let's hope all those things don't happen.
Well, the RBI is also set to ease proposed gold loan rules to allow lenders to lend more against the gold. The proposals also include doing away with credit appraisal for small ticket loans of up to 2.5 lakh rupees. Ritu Singh is standing by with more details. Ritu.
Well, gold loan financiers buzzing in trade after the Reserve Bank of India announced further relaxations to its earlier proposed gold loan rules. And those were easier than what the street had feared to even begin with. Now, what has the RBI done? It has essentially eased the loan to value, or the LTV ratio for gold loans, from 75% proposed earlier to 85% for small ticket borrowers of up to 2.5 lakh rupees. This essentially means, let's say if the gold was valued at 1 lakh rupees, earlier, the lenders could give loans of only up to 75,000 rupees, and now with this 85% cap, they can extend loans of up to 85,000 rupees. However, keep in mind that will also have to include the interest component. Apart from this, we heard from the Finance Ministry in very clear words that small borrowers must be excluded from these most stringent rules, and that is exactly what the Reserve Bank of India has done when it said that the credit appraisal will also not be required when it comes to small ticket loans of 2.5 lakh rupees, and the end-use monitoring that will also be limited to gold loans only under the priority sector rules. So this is a whole bunch of relaxations that the Reserve Bank of India has now announced. The biggest beneficiaries, of course, Muthoot, Manappuram, CSB, City Union Bank, that have large gold loan exposures. So this is overall going to boost the gold loans by these lenders. It is going to attract more borrowers and, of course, improve the earnings for these gold loan financiers.
Right, Ritu, thanks so much for that. Now, Governor Malhotra also revealed that the RBI is looking at the rules governing ownership structure of banks. Governor said that the FDI cap currently stands at 74% and there is no plans to change that. However, he also added that the central bank is examining the ownership structure, while also adding that no immediate change to regulations are likely.
हम ये पूरा जो ओनरशिप स्ट्रक्चर है, जो एलिजिबिलिटी कंडीशंस हैं, जिसके अंदर में FFI नॉन रेजिडेंट्स के लिए आज के दिन में 15% है, उस सबको हमको पूरे को एग्जामिन हम कर रहे हैं. वो इमीडिएटली नहीं होगा, उसमें समय लगेगा. ये जो है बहुत डीपर क्वेश्चंस हैं जिनको क्रिकेट की एनालॉजी में जो है 2020 मैच की तरह से नहीं देखना चाहिए. तो वो हम उसको पूरा सोच समझ करके ही क्या हमारे अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए क्या उचित है, उसको ध्यान में रखते हुए.
Shares of IndusInd Bank rose in trade. This after the RBI Governor Malhotra said that the bank has taken enough steps to improve their accounting practices. He said that the bank's managing director and CEO have taken a moral responsibility and have resigned, and also that there should be good enough. This comes after IndusInd Bank declared a 2,000 crore rupee loss, citing derivatives accounting lapses in March of this year.
I think the bank has taken enough number of steps to put their to improve their accounting and other practices. The MD CEO, has resigned, and it says, for taking, moral responsibilities. So I thought, that should be good enough. Do you expect that all the board members? I mean, what are you hinting at? I think the MD CEO, who's also a member of the board, if he has taken responsibility, that is at the board level itself.
Well, on to the day's market action. The Reserve Bank's 50 basis points repo rate cut brought cheer to the market. Frontline indices rose over 1%, with financials witnessing the biggest move. Today's gains helped the market turn positive for the week. The Sensex and the Nifty recorded weekly gains after giving negative returns for the last 2 consecutive weeks. Broader markets outperformed, with the mid-cap index rising 3% this week. And in the money markets, the Indian rupee gained 16 paise against the dollar after the monetary policy. The rupee remains just below the 86 mark against the greenback. 10-year bond prices gained today and the yields softened to 6.2%. Now, competition watchdog CCI is likely to pass an order to initiate a probe against Asian Paints. Sources tell CNBC TV18 that the probe will be launched based on an antitrust complaint filed by Birla Opus Paint. Parikshit Luthra is standing by with more details. Parikshit, tell us more about Birla Opus Paint's complaint and the issue that they've raised with respect to Asian Paints.
Well, the news that we've just picked up is that the Competition Commission of India is set to launch an investigation into abuse of dominant position by Asian Paints. Now, they are likely to issue a formal order to initiate such an investigation. Now, this complaint was received from Grasim Industries by the CCI on behalf of Birla Opus Paints in November 2024. Since then, a preliminary inquiry had been happening at the level of CCI. They sought more material from Birla Opus Paints and also sought a reply from Asian Paints. So both parties were aware of what was happening. Now, we have been told by sources that the reason why Asian Paints was able to use or abuse its dominant position was that it holds 53% of the installed capacity in the decorative paint segment. It has 1.6 lakh touch points across the country and 74,000 plus dealers. What was Asian Paints actually doing as per the complainant? Now, as per the complainant, Asian Paints abused its dominant position by threatening dealers and telling them that if you dealt with Grasim Industries or Birla Opus, or you served them in any way, or you sold their products, then Asian Paints would reduce the credit limits for you, would deny you contracts, delay supplies, and all of this would be hurtful and harmful for the dealer in the long run. Asian Paints also allegedly delayed supplies and restricted access to tinting machines to warn their dealers. The complainant has alleged that Asian Paints exercised unfair dominance over its dealers to cut off access for Birla Opus in the market. So these are some very strong allegations that are being made. It's happening at a time when Birla Opus is also increasing its market share in the paint sector. Let's see what happens. But net, a formal investigation is now likely to be launched by the CCI very soon.
Right, Parishad, thanks so much for that. So a formal order for an investigation is around the corner. Well, moving ahead now, a consortium including Sunil Bharti Mittal and Warburg Pincus is in talks to pick up the stake in Indian arm of China's Haier smart home. According to a money control report, the consortium will pick up a 49% stake, with the Chinese parent expected to hold 49% as well. Both parties will exercise joint control going ahead. An official announcement on the proposed transaction is likely this month. And the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal has refused to grant nod to Baiju-backed Akash for a fundraise. The court upheld NCLT's order that had directed for a status quo to be maintained pertaining to Akash's shareholding. Remember, private equity firm Blackstone had opposed any equity fundraise by the company, alleging that the move would lead to erosion of rights of minority investors. Now, US President Trump's alliance with billionaire Elon Musk has imploded in full public view. Both have traded insults on their respective social media platforms through Social and X. Now, since last night, tensions escalated after the US leader expressed disappointment with the Tesla CEO after his relentless criticism of the president's big, beautiful bill on social media last week. Here's a report.
But I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
The alliance between President Donald Trump and billionaire Elon Musk has quickly disintegrated in a very public breakup.
But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it.
Trump started the feud in remarks from the Oval Office on Thursday. Musk then hit back with posts on his social media platform X saying, quote, "Without me, Trump would have lost the election. Such ingratitude." He even said yes to a post that said Trump should be impeached. Trouble between the two have been brewing all week, after Musk on Tuesday started denouncing Trump's sweeping tax cut and spending bill.
Look, Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore.
Trump has now threatened to cut off government contracts with Musk's companies, which has led to the billionaire announcing that his rocket company SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. The capsule plays a critical role in the U.S. government's space program.
Fight, fight, fight!
Musk has been one of Trump's most visible advisors as head of DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency, which mounted a sweeping effort to downsize the federal workforce and slash spending.
And the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
Their sparring hammered shares of Musk's electric vehicle maker Tesla. A prolonged feud between the two could make it more difficult for Republicans to keep control of Congress in next year's midterm elections.
Meanwhile, U.S. House Speaker and Republican lawmaker Mike Johnson also weighed in on the public spat between President Trump and Elon Musk. He said that he wished that the issues between the two are resolved soon. Johnson also responded to Musk's criticism of the spending cut bill. He said that policy differences are welcome, but Musk shouldn't argue with lawmakers on how to legislate.
I really like Elon. He's a friend. I've come to truly respect his acumen. The Doge effort was heroic, patriotic, helped us find a lot of savings and abuses that Congress was not able to uncover previously. So huge contributions. And look, we can have policy differences. We have that here in this building, every day, but it's not personal. It shouldn't be personal. I don't tell my friend Elon I don't argue with him about how to build rockets, and I wish he wouldn't argue with me about how to craft legislation and pass it. But we've had some good discussion. I thought it was helpful, fruitful, but it's just disappointing. I hope it all resolves today. Look, these are two titans. I respect them both. I'm of course a huge fan and supporter of President Trump. I was with him in the Oval Office yesterday afternoon when some of this was unfolding, and he was disappointed. I was disappointed. I just hope it resolves quickly for the sake of the country.
Coming up on India Business Hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi accepts an invitation to attend the G7 summit after a phone call from Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Details in just a bit. And you can also catch all CNBC TV 18's news and updates on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and Jio Hotstar. Well, staying with Elon Musk, here's a big break for him coming in for his company, Starlink. India's telecom ministry has granted a license for providing satellite communication services. The license was granted after Starlink complied with various security protocols. After OneWeb and Jio, Starlink is the third entity to have secured a SATCOM license. After the license, Starlink also needs to secure an approval from space regulator in space. Meanwhile, the TRAI has recommended administrative allocation of spectrum instead of auctions for satellite communications. TRAI has also recommended a spectrum user charge of 4% of AGR. TRAI has also proposed grant of government subsidy for use of SATCOM services in rural and remote areas. The DOT, the Telecom Ministry, is yet to approve the TRAI recommendations. Starlink recently launched services in neighboring country of Bangladesh with a monthly charge of approximately rupees 3,000 and a one-time fee of approximately 33,000 rupees for the terminal. Well, more action from the insurance space now. The government is considering hiking the motor third-party insurance premium for FY26. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the government has likely received recommendations from IRDAI to hike the premium and may take a call in 2 to 3 weeks. 2% equity of Bajaj Finserv worth 5,500 crore rupees exchanged hands in a large block deal today. The transaction took place at a little over 1,900 rupees per share. Sources tell CNBC TV 18 that promoters Bajaj Holdings and Jamna Lal Sons are the likely sellers. The sale comes after Bajaj Finserv signed share purchase agreements with Allianz to acquire a 26% stake in Bajaj Allianz. And speaking of export restrictions on rare earth magnets, Suzuki has suspended the production of its flagship model Swift. Reports have said that Suzuki is the first Japanese car maker to do so. The automaker paused production of the car since May 26th. Well, a sign of thaw in strained relationships between India and Canada, Prime Minister Modi accepts an invitation to attend the G7 summit after a phone call from Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Prime Minister Modi said that both nations will work together with renewed vigor. And in a bid to bolster trade ties between India and the US, sources have told CNBC TV 18 that Assistant US Trade Representative Brendan Lynch is visiting New Delhi for discussions. The US delegation is in India from the 4th to the 10th of June with the Indian negotiating team. Both sides will engage in discussions pertaining to greater market access, reduction in tariff and non-tariff barriers, and enhancing supply chain resilience. Well, there is huge interest in the free trade agreement between India and European Union among our leaders and the business community. That's the word coming in from Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, who is on a 5-day trip to Europe. Goyal added that there is near complete unanimity among both business and government leaders in Europe to see a fair and equitable deal concluded soon.
All my engagements with different European leaders and business community has clearly demonstrated a huge interest in the free trade agreement with India. This is an agreement whose time has come, and there is almost complete unanimity amongst businesses and governments that they would like to see a fair, balanced and equitable FTA being finalized and executed soon. We are working towards that, and I hope we make good progress very soon.
Now, China's grip on rare earth magnets has left the Indian auto industry in a bind. Sources have told CNBC TV 18 that the government is considering a scheme similar to a PLI to boost local manufacturing. Talks between the industry and the government are currently at a nascent stage, and no formal policy draft is under consideration. Bengaluru police has arrested one RCB official and an event management executive after 11 people died in a stampede during the IPL victory celebrations. 2 more people were also taken into custody for their alleged involvement. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today inaugurated the world's highest railway bridge over the Chenab River in Jammu and Kashmir. The bridge offers all-weather railway connectivity between Kashmir and the rest of India. This visit also marks his first trip to Jammu and Kashmir following Operation Sindoor. Israel has carried out airstrikes in Lebanon's capital of Beirut. The Israel military has said that it was targeting Hezbollah drone units in the southern suburb of the city. Israel's defense minister has said that these strikes were needed to enforce the ceasefire rules between the two countries. Meanwhile, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has shut all of its aid distribution points in the Strip again. Palestinians have been told to stay away for their own safety. This comes as the UN reported nearly 3,000 children in Gaza under the age of 5 are suffering from acute malnutrition. And from one war-torn region to another, Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that Russia has targeted almost all of Ukraine in a massive drone and missile strike overnight. Zelensky added that 3 people have been killed in Kyiv. Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry has said that its air defenses shot down 174 Ukrainian drones. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks so much for watching. News and updates will continue right here on CNBC TV 18.